You're listening to the 10 podcast where we teach, empower, and nurture minds. And I would like to welcome you back to the Nurturing Children's Confidence series, episode 13. I'm your host, Jahseen. Last week on the 10 podcast, we explore how best to support a child who is silent, withdrawn, often daydreaming, but they are doing well academically. Today, we are flipping the script to talk about children who are loud, highly social, and often the life of the party and always want to be the center of attention, but they are struggling academically or emotionally beneath the surface. How can we best support such child?
Welcome to the 10 Podcast, where we teach, empower, and nurture minds. This podcast is dedicated to providing parents and educators with valuable tips, strategies, and insights to support children and young with or without special educational needs. Your host is Jahseen Foster, a qualified special educational needs teacher and a certified children's coach. Join us as we explore ways to install confidence and self-esteem in children from a young age.
Throughout this week's episode, we're going to look at what this behavior might be communicating, and I'm going to share some strategies to support them both at home and in the classroom. Before we continue, let us define exactly what we mean by the loud child. When we say the loud child, we're referring to a child who's frequently interrupting adults' conversations at home or in school, always want to be noticed or to be the center of attention in social settings, make jokes, act out, or take on the role of being a class clown. They have lots of friends but may struggle academically. These children often are outgoing, funny, charismatic, but their loudness can sometimes mask deeper issues, which we'll talk about throughout this episode. Let us look at a child's attention-seeking behavior as a balloon. Their behavior is like the air inside the balloon, building and building until it needs to be released. When they don't feel noticed, validated, or secure, they seek attention to release the pressure. The louder they are, the more they are signaling, look at me, pay attention to me. It's not just about being loud for the sake of being loud. It's their way of communicating that they need something, even if they can't express it directly. The key for us adults, parents, and educator is to try to understand why their balloon is so full and find ways to help them release that pressure constructively. If you've just joined us, you're listening to the 10 podcasts where we teach, empower, and nurture minds. And in this week's episode, we're looking at how best to support a child who is very loud, appear to be very social, have lots of friends, always want to be the center of attention, but they are not doing well academically. How best can we support such child? So let us look at why do some children constantly seek attention. Loud attention-seeking behaviors can stem from a variety of underlying causes. And one of the causes that we're going to look at is emotional need. A child might seek validation or reassurance because they feel insecure or unnoticed in some areas of their lives. And therefore, they seek attention. Some children are naturally more expressive and have a harder time regulating their emotions. Their loudness might be an outlet for excitement, frustration, or even boredom. For example, a child who finds it difficult to sit in class or might be struggling academically might act out by making jokes to release pent-up energy or to distract others from identifying their academic weaknesses. Let us look at another reason why some children might be constantly seeking attention: the need for connection, a desire for connection. Loud children are often highly social. They thrive on interaction, and they may struggle when they feel disconnected or overlooked. For instance, a child who dominates group conversations might be trying to ensure they don't get left out. Another need children may have is the need for recognition of their strengths. Sometimes loud children are naturally charismatic and outgoing, but they may not feel their strengths are being recognized in a traditional academic setting. For example, a child who struggles with math might use humor or storytelling to showcase their talents and gain positive attention from peers and their teachers. It is important to remember that loudness isn't inherently bad. It's often a sign of a child's vibrant personality that needs guidance and support to ensure they're expressing themselves appropriately. Another cause of why children may be loud and constantly seeking attention could be the lack of self-awareness. A loud child may not realize how their actions impact others. They might not see that being the center of attention all the time can frustrate their peers or overshadow quieter people. This lack of self-awareness often means they don't really fully understand social dynamics, which can lead to inappropriate behaviors like trying to dominate group conversations or making disruptive jokes in class. So it's important for us as parents, carers, and educators to support our children to establish the ability to be self-aware. And the final cause that I want to share with you that may possibly cause our children to be constantly seeking attention is the lack of boundaries. If children are allowed to interrupt adults' conversation or dominate social situations without guidance, they might not learn how to share attention or take turns. Overcompensating for insecurity. It's a way of overcompensating for insecurity. A child who feels not good enough might overcompensate by being the loudest or the funniest person in the room. For instance, if they've been compared to a sibling or a peer who's excelling academically, they might seek attention in other ways to feel important. Some children are naturally extroverted and energetic. This isn't a bad thing. It's about finding ways to channel that energy productively. Now that I've shared with you some possible reasons why some of our children may be initiating attention-seeking behaviors, wanting to be the center of attention all the time, not progressing academically, being very disruptive and distracting in class and social situations, as parents, carers, and educators, we must understand that these behaviors are not intentional because the challenges that it poses for those children are very uncomfortable and often can cause that child to be isolated. Whilst the child may seem confident on the surface, their behavior creates a lot of challenges for them. Challenges that strain their relationships with their peers because their peers might feel overshadowed and therefore they might lose friendships. They might frustrate adults who feel their boundaries are being ignored because that child is always disrupting them. And therefore, adults may not want to be around that child either. This kind of behavior can also prevent that child from focusing on their academic task or their personal growth. The goal is not to silence the child, but to help them to find a balance, to understand social cues, and to develop confidence that isn't dependent on constant attention. If you've just joined us, you're listening to the 10 podcasts where we teach, empower, and nurture minds. And in this week's episode, we're looking at how best to support a child that is loud, disruptive, always want to be the center of attention, but they are not doing well academically. In this next segment, I'm going to share some strategies to support that loud child in the home and in the classroom. Now that we've identified possible causes and also discussed some of the challenges that a loud child may face, let's explore how to support these children at home and in the classroom. The first strategy I want to share with you is provide positive attention in a healthy way. So, for example, if you see your child behaving in a positive way, praise that behavior. Praise that specific positive behavior to show them that They don't need to act out to get attention. For example, I noticed how patient you were while I was talking to your siblings. That was really thoughtful of you. So this shows that they don't need to interrupt to get attention. Schedule one-to-one time with them so they feel valued without competing for attention with their siblings or their other friends. Teach boundaries and social cues. At home, set clear rules about when it's appropriate to interrupt. For example, use a phrase like, "When I'm on the phone, you can wait until I finish and then I'll listen to you." In the classroom, teach turn-taking skills and listening skills. For instance, use a talking stick or a similar object to encourage them to wait for their turn. So the child with the stick is the only one talking at that time. Channel their energy productively. Engage them in activities where their ongoing personality can shine, like drama clubs, sports, or leadership roles in group projects. For example, assign them as a group encourager during class activities to use their social skills in a positive way. Address underlying insecurities. If they struggle academically, provide extra support and celebrate small wins to build their confidence. For example, you really work hard on your spelling list this week, and I can see your effort is paying off. Avoid comparison to siblings or peers. Instead, focus on their unique strength. Teach reflective practice. After a loud or disruptive moment, help them to reflect on their behavior with questions like, "What were you feeling when you interrupted me? How do you think your friends felt when you didn't let them speak? What could you do differently next time?" This helped that child to reflect on their behavior and build better habits for the future. Also, creating opportunities for quiet success. Encourage activities that require focus and independence, like puzzles or art projects. This helps them to see that they can succeed without always being loud or social. Parents, carers, educators, remember to be nurturing. Remember to show empathy when these children are expressing the need for attention. Rather than saying to a child, if they interrupt you, don't say, "Stop interrupting me." You could say, "I can see you're having something important to say. Let's set a timer for 5 minutes and then it's your turn to share." Teachers, for example, in the classroom, if a child is constantly trying to make their friends laugh, instead of saying, "Stop being the class clown," you could say, "You have a great sense of humor. Let's use it to come up with a funny sentence for our writing assignment." These strategies redirect the energy without shaming them, which help them to build their self-esteem. You must think of the loud child as a spotlight. They shine brightly, trying to light up the room, but sometimes their brightness can overshadow others or blind themselves to what's happening around them. Our role as parents, carers, and educators is to help them adjust their spotlight to shine in ways that uplift themselves and others without taking over the whole stage. By teaching them to share their spotlight, we're not dimming their light. We're helping them to grow into confident, empathetic individuals who know when to shine and when to step back, rather than always shining and always the center of attention. Parents, carers, educators, remember, the loud child isn't just seeking attention for the sake of it. Their behavior is often a signal of unmet needs, insecurities, or simply a natural extroverted personality that needs guidance. Think about it. If we provide them with positive attention, teaching them boundaries and helping them to channel their energy in a positive way, we can nurture their confidence and help them to become more balanced and socially aware. Thank you for tuning into the 10 podcast, where we teach, empower, and to nurture minds. If you found this episode helpful, please share with others who might benefit. I am Jahseen, and I will see you next week as we continue to explore ways to support children to build their confidence and their self-esteem. Take care.
To make the most of today's episode, download additional resources or contact Jahseen at www.tenyourmind.com. That's TEN yourmind.com. You can also visit www.coachjahseen.com for more information.